Hey, it's Anthony and Tucker here with Land Title. We came to bring your lender market update. So let's dive right into Boulder County and what you need to know.
All right, so to start off the top, we're going to be looking at detached and attached separately today. Main reason why is those two markets, like we've been talking about all year, are really starting to diverge, and the numbers are going to continue to show that. So just high level, looking at our detached market, we are up month over month in inventory. That's normal. What's interesting is we're down 11, almost 12% from last year's inventory during April, which is a huge drop. And it's also a good sign for the sellers out there, which makes it a little bit tougher on your buyers, but it's a good sign that we're holding steady in prices, and that should help your appraisals. The other thing I like to show is that we are under contract more than we were last year, so that's a good sign. So there is some positive momentum in this detached market, especially in the median home prices for that area around Boulder County. Now, when we get to attached, it's a little bit of a different story.
All right, so as we get over to attached, you can see that on the flip side of the coin, it's actually up in inventory slightly. And really, if you look at the trajectory, it really is continuing to rise year over year over year for the last 4 years. That is creating a dramatic change in the average sales price. It shows 20%. Take that with a grain of salt. We'll look a little bit more into it in a second. But the under contract numbers are down again by 5%. And just so few buyers are creating the pressure in the marketplace for this. And honestly, I think that's really what you got to be concerned about in the attached market is just not enough buyers participating.
Great value for your buyers on the fence.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's go ahead and look at our active listings. Where's the inventory sitting right now across Boulder County? And what you're really going to see is Boulder and Longmont are leading the charge by far. Year over year, though, what's interesting is we're actually down in almost every part of the market except for Niwot. It's just such a small sample size. Take that with a grain of salt, like Anthony says. But we're down in inventory in all of our submarkets, but it's not equal among our submarkets. Especially in Longmont, their inventories remain very similar, whereas places like the L Towns, Louisville, Lafayette, including Erie and Superior, they are all in a much different position inventory-wise. They have really seen their inventory constrict compared to last year.
30% is a lot.
That's a huge jump. And there's 30, 40% in there. And that's where we can see that contraction in the overall active listings in those submarkets is really, putting more pressure. So your buyer's going to feel more competitive, or they're going to have a more competitive situation when they're in those smaller submarkets outside of Boulder and Longmont.
Right. We'll show you by price point here in just a second. If you look at the flip side of that, the attached market, where we've actually seen the increase in active units is actually out there. So interestingly enough, Erie's up 75% in attached products. So condos or townhouses out in Erie have come on the market more. Lafayette's about 5% more inventory, Superior 5% more inventory. Boulder is a very unique position. It's like 264 units on this chart. That's 2.5% more than last year, but it's just this lingering, looming amount of more than half of all the inventory in the county is attached product in Boulder. And so that's the part of the market that you should be the most concerned about. You're working with buyers, though. I think that's an awesome opportunity right there. And we're going to start to see that shift at some point. Truly, though, until buyer behavior changes, that's kind of where we're stuck. And so keep your eye on it. I do think the opportunity will absolutely be there for investors and whatnot in the future here soon.
It's just where's the bottom. So looking at our month supply of inventory, this is great to kind of just see how competitive it is between buyers and sellers, right? When we hit that 3 to 4 month supply of inventory number, right around 3-4 is when it kind of gets shifted, quote unquote, more to a buyer. But really what we've been seeing is a little bit more interesting. In the submarkets, outside of Boulder and Longmont, really even Boulder in particular because of our higher prices, we're sitting under 2 months supply of inventory for almost all of our submarkets except for Superior, who's just over 2, and then Niwot, they're once again luxury, so they take a little bit longer. So all this is saying is it's more buyer favored than you would think, even with these numbers. And that's because the concessions aren't included.
Okay, so if you look at the attached market, this is the exact opposite, where you're seeing over 5 months of inventory across the county. The places with the most inventory, actually, surprisingly enough, Superior's at 7 months of inventory, Boulder's at 6, and Longmont's at 5. So really, unless you're in the L towns, it's just kind of a bloodbath for sellers out there, which is great for buyers.
And I'm pretty sure Superior, they have a lot of that higher end attached product too.
Yep.
And the higher end market's just really not moving, as we'll see here in a minute.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk a little bit about days in MLS, Tucker. Where is it, fluctuating the most here?
Really, what it's saying is, Louisville is still, like it's been in the last, 5, 7, 8, 9 years, a really hot market. So that's going to be more competitive there. Where places in Boulder on your high end, you're going to have a lot more time on the market to go take a look, get more due diligence done. Whereas, hey, that median home, this is saying, hey, we need to move fast, right? Exactly. So those buyers don't have as much time as they used to on these detached single family houses. So they need to make a decision pretty quick because they are a little bit more competitive, especially in that median plus minus range, the prices in Boulder County.
Yep. And the attached market, you can really see awesome products are the ones selling. So like in Superior, the only ones that sold last month sold really fast. There's probably one product that sold in 3 days. If you look in Erie, it's very similar to single family homes when you're talking about their townhouses, even though they have more inventory. But on the average, we're at 55 days. And that's largely just because of Boulder and Longmont, right? Those products have 5 months plus of inventory and the good stuff is selling and everything else is sitting. And it's creating this contentious environment. So yeah. I think the one thing that we wanted to talk a little bit with is there's like a few price bands in the marketplace where you're starting to see some change. So where's that in the detached?
So push, other way, come closer. Sorry, y'all. Getting him out of the way. So really looking at the listing side and what we're seeing in our actives, it's all about price. But what we're seeing a really interesting change in is our 3+ million market has been decreasing a bit. They've been increasing in the actives, but been decreasing in the number of solds, whereas our $2 to $3 million market has had a decrease in our active listings and an increase in our solds. Now, there's a lot of theories about why, but that's what the numbers show. So there's going to be a little bit more competition in that $2 to $3 million mark than there was last fall or even last spring. Whereas that $3+ million mark, if you're doing a loan for that, awesome. You got some great borrowers, and I bet they're super well qualified. But that's kind of what we're seeing. Now, when we get into the more meats and potatoes, under about 1.5 million, it's really picking up speed in our solds, and we're seeing that decrease in our actives. So our solds are up year over year, and pretty much month over month, they're up a lot. So we're seeing really good activity in that 1 million to 1.5 million. Then also under a million, once again, we're still seeing a lot of really good solds. And we're down in the year over year sales in a lot of those price bands. And it's not because people aren't buying in those parts. It's because there's just less inventory that's competitive or priced correctly. So that's where it's more of an inventory concern, not as much of a, buyers going out and buying those, median to sub-median priced homes.
There's really only about two parts of the market that you need to look at in attached. You can look at basically everything under 800,000, right? More townhouse, more affordable stuff. That part has seen a little bit of an uptick, right? As prices have come down so much, it's a little bit more of an affordable product than it was before. A lot of the HOAs are more right sizing. So definitely push your buyers out there to look at those because there is some opportunity and some of that stuff, especially out in the county, it's not like the floor is falling out, right? Mm-hmm. And so the other part of the market is the luxury part of the market where people have clearly made a decision to go from attached to the detached market in luxury this year. And we haven't seen that in the past 3 or 4 years. We've actually seen a lot of really cool attached products sell. So this is a really unique time in Boulder County where that over $800,000 market is kind of crickets. And it's a little scary.
And that's unfortunate because that's a lot of what we build.
Yeah, exactly.
Here. That's a lot of the infill. So looking at our detached for our month supply of inventory on the left and our days on market on the right, what I'm really looking at here on the left is how much of this market is a function of cost. You as a lender understand that as well as anybody out there. But really, the lower the price point, the more competitive it's really going to be. And we can see just how competitive that 600,000 to 800,000 range is, which is, a decent home in Longmont, decent home somewhere in the county. A little bit tougher. That might be a Martin Acres home here in Boulder, but that's really what we're seeing. And then we see that 1.5 million to 2, and that's when we see that month supply of inventory really jumping. And we can see that it's really, once we hit 1.5 plus, for any of your clients out there doing jumbos, a lot of negotiating power for them. Now, I did say that market has been heating up and picking up.
Yeah, look, it's still absolutely selling pretty quick.
The good stuff's selling quick, but it's still absolutely a buyer's market when you get over about 1.5 to 2 million.
Absolutely. I think that's great. If we look at the attached side, this is very opposite of the detached market, like we were telling you, but it's really showing through. 5+ months of inventory across every single price range. And then you get to luxury and you thought 5 was bad. We get up to 18, 60 months at 2 million, right? You're just talking about a large amount of inventory. Think 12 to 24 months, probably over 1.5 million. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, we keep building the product because it's very cool. People were buying it. People probably will continue to buy it. But as the detached luxury market has kind of compressed in price a little bit, it's looking a little more attractive right now. So here we are with the ebb and the flow of that whole supply and demand fund thing.
And I just want to put something in relation. Looking at this, the market in detached between 2 million and 3 million is as competitive as it is in the lowest price condo market.
At $0 to $299.
Yeah. So so just put that in perspective of we have the same ratio of buyer demand to sellers on the market in our condo market as we do as our $2 to $3 million plus market.
Yep.
So I mean, that's
good perspective because it definitely can help you understand that.
That is how much this attaches in your client's favor as a buyer.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Okay.
And to top it all off, let's talk a little bit about price and why maybe this makes sense too.
Yeah. So we can see, sorry, I'm laughing. I shouldn't be. It's just kind of looking at the numbers. So our TTM change is what I really like to look at. And that's showing our change over average of averages. So it's last 12 months versus the previous 12 months. So it's 13 to 24 months ratioed. What we're seeing is Boulder is dropped, right? Why? Our luxury is dropping. Our luxury is so overweighted here in the city because we have so much of it. When our luxury prices start to drop, it really impacts our average sold price. So that's why we've seen our average sold price decrease, and it really has over the last couple of years. It's kind of bounced out from COVID, whereas below that, it's a little bit different. So looking over in Louisville, they're also showing a really nice increase. Once again, supply constrained. They've seen nice increases.
2%, that's great.
Yeah, that's great. Same with Superior. They've seen some nice price increases. Erie. Now, Longmont's taken a little bit of a hit as well. And that's just a tougher market because people have options of where they're going. And I think part of it is a price issue of folks who would be buying in that area might be hopping over to the border of Weld and getting something cheaper.
Absolutely. $732 for Longmont is getting pretty pricey.
Yeah.
And it never used to be, right? I mean, when that was $500,000, like people just moved in droves there. Well, if you want a $500,000 house, you got to move a lot farther east now.
Yeah. And so that's where we're just seeing price is such a factor right now in this market.
And of course, there's the attached side of things. And with that huge amount of inventory in the city of Boulder, that one's come down about 8%. And that really isn't just a composition of sales change like Tucker was talking about in Detached. This is really some price compression in the marketplace. But that's why I said don't shy away from the fact that it was minus 20% on the first slide, because truly it's not minus 20%, right? Over the last 12 months, we've seen degradation in price, but not nearly that bad, right? 7.87% is not great, but we're also seeing that out in Lafayette. And, some of these other markets like, Louisville attached is down a little bit too. That could be a lot more composition of sales related, because remember how small markets, you see huge fluctuations in that. And the last one worth talking about would be Erie is super flat, which is super exciting because that's one of those where, of all the markets, it's actually closer to balanced out in Erie. So that's good to see.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a really interesting slide, and you're going to go, wow, why is everything showing close to 100%, 98, 99% of sold to list price? Why is that? Well, good question. Concessions, right? This is what we're seeing. This is not including all the price drops to get to that final price in the MLS. This is for the price. This is that last price listed in the MLS before going on a contract. And this is why we're seeing such strong numbers is, yes, under that 1.5 million, it is a strong market. And also people are building concessions into their offers right now.
But what's nice is with this chart, the only thing it really measures for us is, are buyers a little bit better off or a little worse off than they were a year ago? I mean, if you look at the trailing 12-month change, it doesn't measure a ton more than just, prices it's got a little softer for buyers. But really, in the last couple of months, it's really gone harder.
Up. It's gone up, but I think it's also agents and listings are now assuming they're going to give a concession, or they're talked about it.
Well, and a lot of it, some of it's going away a little bit too, which, we're kind of on that threshold here right now where with less than 2 months of inventory, concessions should start to go away a little bit. Mm-hmm. So it's a tough market out there for a lot of sellers, but clearly buyers are competing more than they have in the last few years.
They have, and it's really showing the difference between detached and attached, right? The detached, we always say, it's the gold standard here in Boulder County. We're not building more of it.
Totally.
It's limited in supply, and it's not going to get more approvals for more zoning of single-family houses in Boulder County. It's tough. So really, that's really the gold standard, is that single-family detached house as far as an investment goes.
Well, that's what we've got to share with you today. Thank you for joining us. I'm sure we've taken enough of your time at this point, but thank you for everything. If you have any questions, concerns, need any other data, please reach out to Tucker and I. We're always here to help.
Take care, everybody.
Have a great day.